So, you have a new puppy. He's like a furry little potato, right? What's there not to love? Well, there's a few things not to love, like the biting and the endless potty accidents and probably a little fussing in the crate, am I right? Well, those things are normal, but they can also get in the way of building relationships with our puppies. After all, frustrated humans might have a hard time bonding with that furry friend, but you do want to bond, right? Good relationships don't just happen without work, just like in the human world. In today's video, I'm going to go over how you can build a strong bond with your puppy for a lifetime. Before we begin, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss when another video goes live. Michelle here with How to Train a Dream Dog. This is going to be like a college class for puppy training. I am going to go over so many awesome puppy raising and training techniques. You are going to love it. But you might also come away from this session going, whoa, there was a lot I didn't know, and I still don't know. And you're right. Did you know that I actually have an entire online course with more than 50 videos? So I can't possibly summarize all I want you to know in this video, but I'm gonna give it a good try, and I think you're gonna come away from this week's video really inspired and ready. Okay, let's dive in. So you've tuned in because you want to build a great relationship with your canine, right? But maybe after a week or two with that new puppy home, you're kind of confused and sleep deprived and tired of cleaning up potty accidents. And you're not sure if it will ever happen. Well, it's definitely possible, but it can be a little harder for the humans to change their thinking a little bit and think more like a dog. It's a big difference in how we think versus how they think. That's the first tip I want to share with you in your quest to bond with your puppy. Understand canine behavior and development. So how do you do that? Well, you're actually in the right place. You've made the great first step here. You've tuned in to this video and my resources. The best place to start is actually in the free Better Puppy Behavior workshop. It's a lot more detailed about how dogs think and how they learn, and really how best to train them, and some awesome training concepts too. The link is in the description below the video. It's so important to understand how puppies' brains work. I often get emails saying, Michelle, I'm so frustrated. My 9-week-old puppy is still going potty and having accidents in the house. Yes, we can definitely help with that. But I also want to remind people that a 9-week-old puppy hardly knows what end is up. They definitely don't have the strong understanding of their body sensations like a full bladder and the foresight to know, oh, I have to go get mom and I have to tell her I need to go outside. Meanwhile, holding it the whole time. We might think they are more ready because they can run and jump and play. And humans who do that are ready to use the toilet, not a diaper. But for puppies, it's different, and it's important to know all the differences between what you might expect and what is reality so that you can keep your expectations realistic. My next tip on how to build a better relationship: learn a common language. Dogs don't speak English, or whatever language you speak, and we don't speak canine. Can you imagine having a deep, long-lasting relationship with someone whose language you don't even speak? Possible, but it won't progress too far unless you find some common way to communicate. Well, it's the same with our dogs too. You can teach them what some of your words mean, and by careful observation, you can understand more about what his body language is telling you. One of the best ways to learn what your dog is telling you is to keep an active log of his activities. At first, you're only going to be able to record behaviors that are obvious and/or that you create. This would be things like potty breaks or naps, exercise, and meals. Once you start to see patterns with those things, you'll be able to pay more attention to the behaviors that happen just before or just after those things. So you might see circling or sniffing just before a scheduled potty break. You might see a little more nipping or restlessness before exercise or a meal. Those are good cues that tell you what the dog is feeling and how it shows up in their behavior. This kind of log and attention to the behavior then continues when you go out for walks. Now, I know some people who like to multitask when they take their dog for a walk. They think it's a good time to call Aunt Mary or their best friend and catch up with her. No, this is wrong. When your dog is on a walk, they are giving off all kinds of signals that will help you understand him. Now, if you're on the phone, you're missing all of them. Imagine if you went to lunch with your best friend and you were telling her all about your bad day at work, and then she just picks up the phone and calls her cousin. Well, that's not nice at all. Now, obviously, your dog is not a human and it's a little different relationship, but all relationships are built on communication. And for this one, you just have to really tune in a little differently in order to get the signals. Since you're invested in this relationship with your dog, take some time to understand what the signals mean when your dog is giving them off. Some of them can be pretty subtle. It could be something like an ear placement. Are they forward? Are they back? Are they twitching? Are they relaxed? What about a tail? A wagging tail doesn't always mean a happy dog. Is it swinging wildly or low and tucked? Maybe it's waving slowly. Those all mean different things. What about eyes? Are they fixed and staring at you, or maybe darting all over the place? Now, I can't go into a whole lesson here, but I do talk a lot about understanding canine body language in the online course, 30 Days to Puppy Perfection. I also have a video on how to understand doggy language when two dogs are playing, and how to figure out if it's a healthy play or something that you might want to intervene on. My students love that one when they start arranging doggy play dates. Now, your dog is going to start to learn things from you too. You'll teach him skills and routines and pair them with body language of your own, including specific hand signals that indicate certain things, and finally, actual words. Now, I want to go off on just a little bit of a tangent here for just a moment. Bear with me. Did you know that it's extremely important to time the introduction of your words carefully? Another trainer on my team phrases it like this. If you're going to teach your dog to understand a word, let's say it's come. First, you want to take that word and put it in a glass box and put it high up on a shelf. No touching it. Then you're going to start with body language and hand signals to help your pup understand what you want him to do. Once you can promise me that 100 times out of 100 times he will do as you ask with those hand signals, then you can pair the word with those signals. This is totally against the human nature. Think of how we interact with babies. We start with the words and eventually they just get them. Dogs are different though. We have to start with the signals. If you don't, you could actually ruin the word forever after. And it really won't be effective when you try to use it. We really need the come command to be effective, am I right? Now, that's just one little tip about using words with our dogs. Communication helps us understand why they might do what they do. Why do they bite? Why is he barking? Why is he growling? How can I make him stop? Behavior is information, and it's not something that we want to mute. We might want to shape it so that it better fits our human world, but we first have to understand it, and that comes from communication. Now, I could talk a lot more about communication. I really think it's a fascinating topic, but I can only skim the surface in this video, so I'll save the rest for another time. But another way that you can build a really amazing relationship with your pup is through training. As you start to train and your pup focuses on you, they start to tune out other distractions. You start to understand him and know how to work with him in unexpected situations. Training is like tools in a tool belt, where you can pull out whatever tool you might need at the time that you need it. Now, an example would be running into a barking dog while out on a walk. We don't want our dog to react to the one that's barking or to pull on the leash. So we need to use the skills taught in the online course, such as the blocking game that we teach. Or you might use one we call Focus, or even another one called Go Zone, where you teach your puppy where you expect him to be when out walking, especially in a neighborhood. And because we've invested in understanding the signals our dogs are giving off, we can also understand when our dogs tip over a threshold of fear or anxiety or overstimulation. Once he tips over that threshold, no learning is actually taking place. It's like when a puppy finally gets all his vaccines and he's ready to join the world outside. Do we just throw on a leash and head out the front door? Well, some people do. Does it work well? No! Most of the time, that dog is going to do something called pancaking, which means he's just going to lay down flat and refuse to move. He's overstimulated. You can try to work with him to move and learn how to walk nicely on a leash, but not at that time. No learning is taking place. Those vault doors are closed. Now, that's just one way training can help you with having a relationship with your dog. You can work on these skills ahead of time so he doesn't tip over the threshold and feel insecure and afraid when you're putting him in an uncertain situation. But it's worth it to put in that effort on the front end and to reap the rewards on the back end. Teaching and guiding is only one of our jobs as puppy parents. Notice I didn't say dominating or even leading. Contrary to some of the information out there in the dog training world, domination has no part in the canine-human relationship. Leading is not a bad word, but I like to think of it more as a guide. Like that tour guide when you were out there on that cool trip and you learned all about those historic sites. The guide knew more than you did, but they shared it all with you, and now you know too. Okay, let's keep moving. I want to talk a minute about building trust. Trust is built when the training and the communication progress. When your dog trusts you, he knows you won't hurt him. He trusts when you are reliable, consistent, and fair. This is only one reason why I recommend having a routine with your dog. Sure, it can vary as you might have different schedules some days, but if you have some anchors in the schedule that your dog can predict, especially for things like play or exercise or meals, you can earn his trust because he knows it will happen. The more consistent you are with doing it, the more he'll be flexible with the timing because he knows it'll happen because it always does. Isn't it a nice feeling when you can rely on your friend because he or she never let you down? Well, let's do the same for our dogs. I have another tangent to go off on here for just a moment. Handling techniques is really important in building trust. Trust is often broken with incorrect handling techniques. Sometimes we don't know better and we accidentally pick a puppy up like we would a human, right? Like this. Did you know that handling a puppy this way can actually pinch their nerves and cause some pain up under here? Always know the right way to pick up a puppy. So for example, when we pick up a puppy, we're going to actually scoop from the sides and place our hands under the chest and across the front, while adding just a little bit of comfort and security so they don't feel like they're going to fall. Do you want to know what doesn't build trust? Aversive methods like force, punishment, and scolding. When we resort to aversive techniques to change behavior, like holding a nose closed or rubbing their face in an accident or pulling on the leash, these all break down your relationship because your puppy doesn't actually understand what's happening. And confusion does not build trust. It just leads to more frustration. Trust goes both ways, right? Have you heard another trainer say to periodically put your hand in your dog's food while he's eating so you can teach him not to growl or bite you? You have never heard me say that because actually that's terrible advice. I have a whole video on what you should do instead to build a trust up with a dog during the critical times of the day, such as mealtime. Now, another way to build trust is to be your dog's advocate when they can't advocate for themselves. This means not putting him in situations where he's likely to fail. So, for example, if guests are coming over, but you haven't taught your puppy what you want him to do when you have visitors, and he barks and he jumps, and you get upset, or if you leave a plate of food on the table where he can reach it and he helps himself and then you're angry, or you take him to a park with a lot of stimuli without having done the proper pre-training to get him used to it, and he pancakes out of fear and overstimulation. Don't make him face fear when he isn't ready. Take the time to go through a desensitization process to those scary things like vets, groomers, and active parks. Take the time to teach him what you expect of him in situations that require impulse control. Kids can sometimes accidentally break down trust with our dogs. Kids don't usually have trusting movements. They are sporadic, they're unpredictable, they move quickly. And sometimes they play games that are not good for dogs, like chasing or teasing. Sometimes kids have not been taught to leave the dog alone when he's sleeping or it's mealtime. We want to teach kids to be inviters, not invaders. That means to observe the dog's body language and invite him into the kid's space. Don't invade his. Now, another way to bond with your dog is to share experiences. It's really good for dogs to be exposed to new and different things, especially at a young age. It's not just good for them, it's critical. Taking your dog out to new parks and stores, new neighborhoods or on trails, bodies of water, and visiting new people are all so good for him. Just remember to take it at your dog's pace, not yours. And pay attention to body language to make sure he remains comfortable. We do this to build our dog's confidence, not overwhelm him. Remember those vault doors? No learning takes place when your dog is over that threshold of fear or stimulation. But learning and bonding takes place when your dog is enjoying himself and you have provided that opportunity for him. Now, another tip, Do things your dog loves. Dogs have no choice but to live in a human world, and they get the short end of the stick with communication too. We don't understand them as well as they might like. So we have to work hard to pick up on those signals and see what things our dogs love to do. Is he a fetcher or a digger or maybe a runner or a chaser? Maybe he loves meeting new people or quiet walks in the woods. Learn what brings your dog joy and make sure he has that opportunity to do it as often as possible. He can't take a day off of work and load up the canoe and head to the lake. He relies on you to provide that opportunity for him. He can't even tell you that he clearly likes it. You have to pay attention. Try new things, watch body language, and repeat. Finally, you can build and maintain a great relationship by continuing to learn and grow together. Dogs do change throughout their lives. Their energy levels change, their desires change. Continue to do new things and watch how your dog responds. What he used to love to do as a 1-year-old dog may be different than what he enjoys when he's 7. Evaluate and adjust with him. Understand the changes that dogs go through as they age, and especially learn to recognize signs of pain. Dogs are very good at hiding pain. It's part of their DNA. But if you know what to look for, and you can start to see it, make adjustments so his life is comfortable and enriching as possible. I told you that was going to be a lot of information. So maybe you're thinking, Michelle, yeah, this sounds great, but where do I actually begin? Well, start with training. It's the easiest way for humans to get to know their dogs. Training can be a huge subject and hard to know where to begin, so make it easy on yourself. Sign up for 30 Days to Puppy Perfection. The lessons are laid out in an easy-to-follow sequence. You can watch the videos of me and my team members working through the skills with real dogs. And you can work on this in the comfort of your own home. If you want some additional support, select the Pro level so you can join those amazing Zoom calls each week. And you can upload videos for some constructive feedback in our Facebook group. Either way, just jump in. Start building that bond with your puppy. Now in the comments below, tell me one aha moment you had while watching this video.